The other day I was out walking my beagle when a bird landed on my head. Hi, my name is Claudette, and this is Always Turning Pages. On my channel, I talk about the writing process that happens at the keyboard, as well as away from the keyboard. So if you're new here, welcome to my channel, and please hit subscribe. It will help my channel to grow. It was the oddest sensation. It wasn't attacking me. It just gently landed right on top of my head, and I had my headset on. I was listening to an audiobook, and I remember bringing my hand up to see what happened, what landed on my head, thinking it was maybe a branch that fell off a nearby tree. But it was a bird, and it flew over this way onto a sign that was right next to me. I thought it was very strange because normally when birds do that, when they get this close to a human, they're trying to protect their young birds in a nest nearby. But the nearest tree was 10 meters above my head, and there was no danger, even from a bird's perspective. The bird was a red-winged blackbird, and they have a very loud screeching sound they make, but there was no sound. This bird landed on my head very briefly, almost like trying to get my attention, and then flew maybe a meter over to a street sign and sat on top of the street sign. I thought it was very odd because the street sign wasn't the only thing on that post. Above it was a lamp, and below it was a stop sign. Instead of focusing on the practical perspective, I decided to focus on the symbolic perspective. The main point that spoke to me immediately was the bird's landing spot. It had multiple choices: the lamp, the stop sign, or the street sign. It chose the street sign, which, incidentally, pointed in the direction of home. Symbolically speaking, the stop sign would have implied halt, whereas had it landed on the lamp, it might have pointed to illumination or insight. Instead, it chose a directional place to land on, a street sign that pointed in the direction of home. Now, obviously, I don't need some bird to show me the way home. It's in my own neighborhood. I know how to get home by myself. But wasn't that interesting that it landed on that street sign? I decided to interpret that as a message relating to my writing journey, relating to my passion projects, everything that I create inside of this low key. From a symbolic perspective, birds have often been viewed as messengers. I know I remember shortly after my dad died, there were these mourning doves on the driveway of the house where I was sitting with my mom and having a coffee, and my dad's old car was parked on the driveway, and the mourning doves would come and kind of hover near the car, and it made me think of him. So I can see why people would make that assumption that the birds are here to give us a message from the beyond and let us know that they're still here, they're still part of us in some capacity. I think that's a nice way to think of birds, to see them as messengers of the universe, of the beyond, of the departed, or if you're religious, from God, I guess. There's another way to interpret a bird making contact with someone landing on your head, and the research that I have conducted to dig deeper into the symbolic messages told me that it's like a way of drawing attention to something pertinent in your life. Like perhaps if you're involved in a project or something and you're wondering if it's the right direction or if you should continue or give it up, when the bird lands on your head, it brings attention to something specific that pops into your mind. And if you're intuitive, you might pick up on that connection. Then you might be able to dig a little deeper to see if there's some sort of associated meaning with whatever you were thinking about at that exact moment when the bird landed on your head. For instance, in my case, I found it interesting that I was aware the bird landed on the street sign and not on the lamp or on the stop sign. And since I was on my way home, it's kind of like implying that I'm going in the right direction. I'm heading toward a destination that I wanted to be at. In this particular practical case, I'm taking the beagle back home, but in my passion project writing journey, I often I often worry whether I am on the right track. And at that moment when that blackbird landed on my head and then sat on the street sign pointing toward home, I had this sudden thought that I should just keep going with what I'm doing. It's the right way forward for me. And so I can see the symbolic message if you're intuitive enough to recognize it, that it can actually have a very deep personal meaning you can derive from that action. I did a little bit of research about the red-winged blackbirds in particular. Some of the terms that came up, I made some notes here, are boundaries, self-expression, confidence, and protecting what matters. So this is probably true for all animals in the animal kingdom, especially the moms. They want to protect their young from danger. This particular bird is known to be fairly aggressive and territorial, the red-winged blackbird, but it wasn't in my situation. It landed very softly on my head and then flew on top of the sign, basically saying, pay attention, I'm trying to tell you something. Or maybe, pay attention, you know what you want, pursue it, you're on the right path. So I'm curious what you think about all this and whether you liked the video. If you did, it would mean a lot to me if you liked the video. Maybe leave a comment and subscribe, because it will help my channel to grow. And let me know what you think about this symbolism. Keep an eye on the description below. If I do eventually write up an article about this situation, I will link it so you can pull it off and read it either on my blog or on my Substack. I'll leave those links below as well. Thank you so much for watching.